All right, let's get right into this one. This is a story about family, about money, and about a betrayal so unbelievably sharp that it completely changes a woman's life. And we're not just talking about some family squabble. This is about a mother's desperate fight for her own sanity. I mean, can you even imagine? You ask your only son when his wedding is, and his new wife just looks you dead in the eye, says this, and with a smile. For a mother named Renat, these words, they were the first shots fired in a war she never saw coming. You see, this was so much more than just a hurtful comment. It was the exact moment the mask fell off. It was the moment Renat realized that all the love and respect she thought she had, well, it was all an illusion built on a foundation of her own money. So let's back up a little bit. How did we even get to this point? What on earth could lead to a comment that cold, that devastating? So here's the deal. Renette wasn't just a mother-in-law. She was basically their personal bank. And I am not exaggerating. We're talking 3 straight years of paying their rent every single month. She bought the furniture for their house, made sure their fridge was always full, and even paid for their, quote, personal expenses. And the real kick in the gut? She had already bought a brand new $200 dress for a wedding she was never even invited to. And this is where the story just becomes unbelievable. Get this. Just a few days after being told she wasn't special enough to come to the wedding, her phone rings. It's her daughter-in-law, Lena. But is she calling to apologize? Oh no. She's calling to demand the rent money. The absolute nerve is just, it's staggering. And right here, you can see the playbook, the 2 faces of a master manipulator. One minute, she's the confident bride with that chilling smile, cutting Renati to the core. The next, her voice is trembling on the phone. She's desperate, pulling out the whole, "you're like a second mom to me" card. It's a textbook move, right? Designed to keep you confused, keep you off balance, and keep you paying. But this time was different. Something inside Renate finally snapped. She takes those exact cruel words, "special people," and fires them right back. And with that one single sentence, boom, the entire power dynamic just flips on its head. This isn't just a comeback. It's the sound of chains breaking. So after that phone call, a light bulb just goes off for Renate. It was time for a reckoning. It was time to figure out what her generosity had actually cost her in cold, hard cash. And this forces her to ask a really tough question, one that maybe we've all had to ask at some point. Where is the line between helping your family and just being taken advantage of? At what point does support turn into exploitation? So she grabs her bank statements. It was time for an audit. And the number she finds it's just staggering, $33,400. Let that sink in for a second. In just 3 years. And look, this wasn't spare change. This was her retirement money, money her late husband had left for her, just gone. But honestly, when you really look at the breakdown, the number itself isn't even the coldest part. That $18,000 in rent, that's not a gift. That's her paying their basic living expenses for 36 straight months. The $7,000 on food, that was her, week in and week out, making sure they ate. She realizes that this wasn't about love anymore. And all those other things, the gifts, the unpaid loans, the so-called emergencies, she finally saw them for what they really were. They were tests, pushing her boundaries. This wasn't generosity. She had literally built the entire system of their dependency on her. Her reaction was immediate, decisive. No more second guessing. Their frantic calls? Ignored. She marched right into her bank, sat down with the manager, and canceled every single automatic payment. She locked them out of everything. She didn't just turn off the tap, she ripped out the entire plumbing system. But if you think cutting them off was the end of the story, you'd be wrong. Oh, so wrong. This was just the beginning. The second the money stopped flowing, things got ugly. The manipulation turned into, well, all-out war. And you know, what Renat was going through actually has a legal name. It's elder financial abuse. And it's not just a fancy term. It's a recognized crime. It's when people you're supposed to trust exploit your resources. And believe me, her son and daughter-in-law were about to take it to a whole other level. The escalation was just swift and brutal. Only 2 days after she cut the cord, they show up at her front door. With a lawyer. They try to ambush her into signing over power of attorney. When that doesn't work, They file a completely false report with senior services. And then, the final, most vicious move, they file a lawsuit to have her legally declared mentally incompetent. And their justification for all this? Oh, it is classic, insidious gaslighting. They framed her taking back control as confusion, her standing up for herself as paranoia. They weren't trying to steal from her, you see. No. They were just worried about her. It was a calculated, disgusting attempt to weaponize her age against her. So this all leads to the big showdown, the climax of the entire story. A courtroom battle where Renate has to prove her own sanity against the very people she once supported with everything she had. And their entire case, their whole argument, was built on twisting reality. They took her self-protection and they called it paranoia. They took her newfound mental clarity and called it mental decline. They tried to paint this picture of a vulnerable, confused old woman when, in fact, for the first time in years, she was empowered and standing on her own 2 feet. But here's the beautiful part. Renate was not fighting this battle alone, not by a long shot. She had built her own army. Her lawyer, her neighbor, her sister, her friends from her garden club, even her pharmacist, who they had actually tricked into signing something, came forward to set the record straight. They all showed up for her. And in the end, the truth won. The judge saw right through the manipulation. He didn't just deny their request. He affirmed Renate's competence and called out their lawsuit for exactly what it was, a greedy move motivated by money, not genuine concern. It was a total, undeniable victory. After the trial, Renate didn't just go back to her old life. She completely transformed it. She sold the house, took a portion of her money, and donated it to help protect other elders from similar abuse. And with the rest, she finally started living for herself. She traveled, started painting again, and built a brand new future. You know, through all of that pain and struggle, Renate learned a crucial lesson. True love, it can't be bought. And the price you have to pay for your own freedom, for your own dignity, well, that's priceless. It's always worth it. It's just such a powerful story of betrayal and ultimately rebirth. And it leaves us with one final, really challenging thought. If you were faced with this kind of manipulation from the people who are supposed to be closest to you, what would you do?